Speaking of impressive, here in studio with us right now, Dominic Fonte from Dominic Fonte Associates in studio with us yet again to talk about the housing market. A lot of you out there might be looking to buy a home. A lot of you out there might be looking to sell a home. Like I said before we played Taylor, some people just always want to know what the market's doing. Some people are, it's a very interesting topic to talk about.
Well, and not only that, I mean, even if you're looking to do renovations to your current home, It doesn't hurt to know what home market values are like, because a lot of time that comes in the form of like a HELOC where you're taking equity out. So,
listen to you.
HELOC. I'm going to look that one up.
How about that, Dominic? She's dropping bombs. Look at that.
Man,
I've got a little bit of knowledge.
Well, maybe you should be
but
running
only
this.
because of talking to you.
Well, I appreciate that. So listen, all the listeners out there that can hear this voice, we want to make sure you're an informed decision maker because it is a little bit confusing. So I will be your GPS or headlights in the dark.
Absolutely.
Let's get to it broadly first before we get into anything. Like right now, here we are in October of 2023. The market here in Stark County, what's it like?
It's scary.
Well, it is Halloween.
Yeah, it is Halloween. No, technically, here's what it is. I would say if you understand what's happening in your backyard, if you're in Stark County, the surrounding areas, so you want to be very informed about what's happening. So for a few years there, it was off the rails, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Way over asking price, no inspections, totally ludicrous, right?
Right.
But I would say now it's normalizing a little bit. It still favors the seller, though, so there's still less inventory. And there's a lot of equity out there. So people, I think, in general, are just trying to figure out the mechanism to be able to buy and sell without being homeless. And you need a good GPS or headlights in the dark, which is really a professional to explain it to you. And I always say, you guys, a good agent understands what's happening. A great agent can articulate what's happening in the market. And I hope for this little segment we have, the listeners will gain great knowledge. And of course, if anybody has a question, please reach out to your station at Q92.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have a question for Dominic, you can text us at 330-269-9292, or you can head over to the Facebook, YouTube, or X live stream and drop it in the comments there, and we'll make sure that he answers your question on air. Can we talk a little bit about the home listing process? I know that we have a lot of young families that listen to the station, things like that. They might be on their way to purchasing their first home. And so this is entirely new to them, completely foreign. What is the first step in the process?
So if you're thinking of buying, the first thing you want to do is get educated. So don't run out and get pre-approved and stay off all the social sites. Talk to a professional. And there's a lot of real estate agents out there. They're not all created equal, but I promise you, check them out online, check out their reviews, have a conversation with an agent or two, make sure they understand. And the questions you want to ask is, first of all, you want your interest to always be put first, right? So depending on an assessment of what your needs and wishes are, because sometimes you don't really know. If it's your first time, how do you really know all the questions to even ask? So I have it kind of streamlined to a 15-step process. It's a bird's eye overview of what to expect step by step and in the order that you can, digest it, because there's a lot to digest technically.
Yeah, there is.
So I would say a professional meeting, I call it a consultation. That's always the first thing we do. Now, sometimes, the people are busy. Everybody's schedules are busy. They may not want to come into the office. They may meet right at a house. And that's okay too. We can still talk at a house. But I think if I had my rathers, I think if you came in and just kind of went over the bird's eye view of the process, and then at that point you say, okay, this makes sense to me. I think I want to go to the next step. And so I would say the consultation is most important first.
Okay. So you've basically broken it down so that no matter what your situation, even if it's your first time, it's very easy to understand. You guide them in the way that they need to in order to get them to the best place possible. Best financing situation, how much can they afford? You'll help them with all of that.
Exactly. So the consultation really is just to get a needs analysis, right? To try to, because I might have realistic expectations. I may have unrealistic expectations because I really don't know any better. And so I need a guide to help me be real about what's happening based on what my needs are.
Yeah.
So if you're getting married or you're starting your career and you want to buy a home, invest. A lot of people are buying investment properties. Younger people are buying duplexes. And so they'll live in half, right? And then rent half, build their wealth, have a tax shelter. And then other people are just buying houses and the rates are a bit higher. Oh, I see some.
I see
giggling.
wheels turning
Uh-oh.
over there.
Just like, why the hell didn't I think of that
I was just
when
going to say, are we
well,
gonna
when
see
I was in my 20s,
Biggles
that-
with properties coming?
Well,
Like,
here's
why didn't I think of that when I was in my 20s?
Hey, look, here's the way it is. I find a lot of people, though, who get pre-approved first after being on Zillow, Truly, or Realtor.com.
Yeah.
I promise you, talk to a professional. You're not going to be tied to me if you're uncomfortable, if it's not a mutual feeling of understanding. I mean, it's okay. My feelings will be all right.
Right.
I'm trying to help you help yourself. And sometimes we get in the way of ourselves, right? So my suggestion is talk to a professional, make sure they're knowledgeable, experienced, and maybe some reviews would help. I have over 430 5-star reviews at DominicFonte.com. Check them out.
Oh, so you got a couple people that'll stand in your corner.
My mom wrote them all.
Still in all,
That's impressive.
Lauren, why didn't we think about the duplex thing when we were younger?
I don't know.
I
just saw your face as he was saying it.
I was like, that would have been so
Oh,
smart.
crap.
Everything you just said, like I bought it, rented out the other half, lived in one.
You could have kept an eye on your tenants.
Just think of the equity right now
Oh,
over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, what
Yep.
you did with your house would have been nothing compared to
I
what-
know. I know. Coming up, I want to talk too about cash buyers. I want to talk about like people, first-time homeowners, and maybe some questions they might have. If I could throw those at you next.
Absolutely.
All right, we're gonna do that coming up. We're coming right
We're gonna take a
back
Quick break.
with Dominic Fonte here after Harry Styles, as it was on Q92. It is Q92. Dominic Fonte here for one more segment here. Someone texted an interesting question. Dominic, I want to throw this one at you if I can. Any advice for someone who is currently in a rent-to-own situation but wants to maybe turn it into a mortgage somewhere?
Yeah, no problem. So here's the solution to your problem. I can't give all the details over air, so feel free to call me. But here, in a nutshell, this is what you want to do. Depending on your credit and your cash position, there's community programs out there where you can actually do it with 1% down of the sale price. You can do it with 3% down, 2% down. You can use OFA. You can use USDA. So it has a lot to do with where it's located and what your situation is. So all you want to do is find out the community program if you don't have tons of wealth. And what you want to do is then enter into an agreement to have them do the mortgage, pay off the rent-to-own guy, and you own the house outright if that's one you want to own outright, okay? And my number, if you want to reach me personally, I can't answer it now, but I'll answer it in a little bit, is 330-418-1535, 418-1535. Any other questions, feel free to hit us up before I take off today.
Dominic, I'm always curious, though, when you're in here to ask you, like, what's the status with, are we still dealing, if you're out there looking for a house right now, are you still dealing with a lot of cash buyers out there? Are they still exist out there?
Yes, they do. There's a lot of creative programs to make a person that doesn't have cash look like cash. So I work at Cutler Real Estate, even though it's Dominic Fonte and Associates. We have a plan called the Cutler Cash Advantage Plan. And basically what it is a lender will take your equity, convert it into cash so you can be a cash buyer, and then they reconfigure it after you close. The second option, and I think Lauren alluded to this earlier, which is called what, Lauren?
A HELOC.
A HELOC, yeah. Well, if you don't know what a HELOC is, basically what it stands for is a home equity line of credit. So a lot of people in the U.S., which trickles into the Stark County and the surrounding areas, has 68.9% of U.S. have 50% equity or no mortgage. So check this out. The rates are 7.5. I'm afraid to have a big payment. So why not convert your mortgage into a cash advantage plan or HELOC or home equity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if the right house comes along, if you don't do the improvements to your house, just pay cash for it and do what's called a recast. So when you sell your current home, right? So you buy before you sell.
Yeah.
And you can do that because of the equity position, because a lot of people today are concerned about the 7.5 interest rate.
Yeah. That's very smart. I never thought about that.
It's just creative thinking. And again, deal with a professional that can articulate this based on your comfort zone. And everybody has different comfort zones, right?
Yeah. No, that's very clever, actually.
Yeah, no, it is.
You think of using your equity for major things that might come up that you need to take care of, or home improvements if that's your forever home that you want to put back into the home, things like that. You don't ever think of it to use it as a cash down payment on your new property.
Well, I think if, like when we got into trouble before, people were using their equity lines to buy cars, go on vacations, pay off debt and all those things.
Not ideal.
But ideally, when you have an equity line, it might be to help with college maybe, or it might be a home improvement. And then sometimes once you get the price of the home improvement, you're like, whoa. And then you're like, you know what? I think I might look around. And then you got a $200,000 equity line, which is basically like $200,000 worth of cash. So if it's a 250 or 300, then you're getting financing for a small amount, right?
Yeah.
And then if you sell your home and gain more equity out, then you can plunk it down on your new purchase by recasting it for a few $100s or even free. And then what they do is they recalculate your mortgage so you have a teeny payment or no payment at all. And if someone wants to know more about this,
That's insane.
I'm just saying the art to this is if you get lemons, you got to make lemonade. And how I do that is I know all the community programs to help this gentleman or this lady that called in asking about how to convert to a mortgage. And if they're renting to own, maybe they don't have a lot of money, right? So it's being creative, thinking outside the box, because, believe it or not, outside our comfort zone is where the growth takes place.
That's true.
Well, it's true. And like you said, there's so many people that probably they can afford a mortgage, but they don't have, sometimes the money to put down.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? They can afford the mortgage, but they're like, I don't have that 10 grand or I don't have that whatever to put down.
Yeah.
And to hear about these programs, I'll bet you people had no idea these even existed.
There's dozens of programs that if you knew about them, you could get off the sidelines and start building wealth.
Right. That is awesome. Man, you have tipped us off this morning, Dom.
Yes.
I think we all learned something today. Again, this is what we get when he comes in the studio and shares his information with us. But Dominic, please, for those listening, like, all right, I'm sold. I got to talk to Dominic and his associates. How can they get a hold of you?
So a couple different ways. You can always email me if you like doing at Dominic at DominicFonte.com. Of course, you can call or text 330-418-1535, or you can go to whatsmyhouseworth.com if you're a potential seller, or if you like a neighborhood, you're keeping an eye on values. Just plug an address in. It'll send you a cool 30-page report, and you'll be more informed, which is a smart decision maker. You want to know what's going on in the market at any given time when you get into the marketplace. And then I guess if you want to see, okay, we have a friend in the business, but we're not sure how good they are, you can always go to DominicFonte.com. That's my website. And I have over 430 5-star reviews where people can spell out what their personal experience has been working with me and my team. And you'll get the same exact service, okay? And again, I do it with the heart of a teacher. So it's very important to work with someone with the heart of a teacher so that they can kind of do what you need, not what I need. And so I always put your needs first to make sure that you're one satisfied customer. And at the end of it all, that you'll refer me and send me a nice review like all the other customers.
Absolutely. Well, it's always a pleasure, Tom. You always come in with so much good information for our listening audience, and we appreciate it because you're definitely a valuable asset in guiding us in the right direction. And that can continue. If you want to get a hold of Dom one more time, you can text or call him at 330-418-1535. Awesome. Thank you, Dom.
Thank you so much, Dom.
Take care, everybody.